All right, let's talk for a second about web hosting. We really didn't do web hosting in WebDev 1. I think now is the time before we start doing big projects to see how we can get your websites online without the need of my website, at least as a free version, and we'll kind of see what that really means. And I'll show you a couple cool ways to host your site. I'm sure we've heard of Squarespace at some point. The ads are all over the place. Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, WordPress, all those kinds of sites. They're good at what they do, but they come at a price, and it really just depends on what kind of site you want. That's what we'll kind of see on everything, is that it's going to scale up depending on what site you want, how big it is, if you want e-commerce, if you need, accounts, all that kind of stuff. Even if you're going to code it your own, if you need a database for your website, then you need to make sure that you're paying for a plan that supports database retrieval like PHP and MySQL and that kind of stuff. So it also depends sometimes where you need to go to get a web host, with what language you're using. If you're interested in doing stuff like Node, or React, then Squarespace isn't probably going to host your stuff. You'll have to have a more third-party, lesser-known site, or one that's dedicated to apps and other types of code that's not just HTML and CSS. So before I ramble on too much here, so if we scroll down here just real quick, it comes with the basic stuff. 12 bucks a month, you get some SSL security. That is how you see the lock in the top left area. It tells you, supposed to tell you, guarantee you that the site's secure so you can make payments and all that. That's a pretty must have at this point. Everything should be coming with that, and it shouldn't cost any extra. It used to cost more, and I have a story about GoDaddy with that, but that should just be a given at this point. Unlimited bandwidth and storage, that's pretty good. I mean, you really just got to pick and choose here. A lot of it just comes to your own personal taste and how well the web editor is if you're going to use the web editor. You're kind of paying a premium so that you can use the Squarespace editor. Squarespace has a pretty great, see what you see is what you get web designer. You don't really need to know a lot of code to do that. So that's why Squarespace is 12 bucks a month, which is honestly a little more pricey compared to some other ones. If you look over here at GoDaddy, GoDaddy also has a web builder, but from what I've seen on it, it's pretty rough. I think it's a really new web builder, and it's definitely not as intricate as something like Squarespace. So they're hitting them at 10 bucks a month. So you save $2. You still get security. You get, all these different support areas. That's the other thing, is that, you're paying for support as well. You're paying for somebody to answer your questions or help you out. If you're going through people like this. Search engine optimization, that would be a good one if you, again, are doing e-commerce. This is you showing up in search results. This is you adding keywords onto your site. And probably with this platform, you're just typing it into some box and they're going to do the work for you to make sure that if somebody types your, keywords of whatever your site's about, that it's going to pop up on Google. Let's look at Bluehost here. Bluehost are the people that I like. I go with them. I used to use GoDaddy. That was before they rechanged their plans. They were pretty expensive when I was using them. And then they called me one day about around the time where this SSL stuff was getting to be more and more important. And again, that's the little lock that tells you that your site's secure. They called me and said basically that if I don't have a lock on my site, if it's not secure, that I'm not going to start showing up on search results. It's going to be a big problem. I'm not going to be compliant with things because every site is moving in to having some kind of SSL certificate to try and fight cybercrime. And then I asked how much it was going to be, and they told me it'd be an extra $70 a year for SSL, and I was just ridiculous. But at the time, and I didn't really have the time to research it and figure out how to do it myself and all that. So I paid for it for one time, and I just thought, this is just ridiculous that I'm paying $70 to have a teacher website, especially. That I started looking around, and I ended up with Bluehost. They've been good. My sites, I don't think, has ever gone down. I do get customer support. If I mess something up, they respond pretty quick. And they came with WordPress. So if you wanted to have just a WordPress website, like a blog or something, then it includes that for free. not too bad. They're pretty cheap too, $4 a month. I think that's about what I pay. I'm not really sure, but I like them. I don't have anything bad to say about them. Let's look at a couple unique ones. DigitalOcean is a cool hosting site, especially if you're going to do like little unique projects that need some kind of hosting, but you're not making a full out site. And this type of company will actually charge you per something. So I think there's a technical word for it, but like this one is per hour. It charges, pennies per hour that your site's actually being used. Sometimes you can go by storage, you can go by CPU processing. If you get one person that accesses your website every month, that's going to be, a penny that you're going to pay. Instead of $4 or $12 or whatever, you'll pay literally nothing. And sometimes they'll even just give it to you for free if it's that small. You start getting, 20 people that visit it every month, it's going to go more, and then it'll scale. So if your project blows up, and you got 100,000 visits every month, then it'll just scale up. But hopefully you're selling something or doing something on the site where you're not going to eat that price. So to some degree, if it's a giant project with a bunch of visitors, that might actually cost you more than just a regular plan would. Just depends on what you're trying to do. Amazon has the same kind of thing. It likes to do, and Amazon has a lot of different choices, and it's fairly complicated. I tried using them at one point. It's very terminal based, but they'll charge by storage. So you get, again, cents per gigabyte. So that's kind of neat. If you maybe have a lot of traffic, but that traffic isn't necessarily doing a lot, then that might be the best way to go. So just a lot of different choices here. We'll show you the two that we're actually going to go through, and I'll have you do them, and I'll have separate videos for this. But there are some free hosting sites. There are, there's catches to using free hosting sites. The big one is that if I wanted to have ednerd.org, right, that's a standalone website. There's no extra bits at the top of it. When you start doing free stuff, then what you're actually paying for is a subdomain for regular sites. Like, for example, here, if I had a Weebly site and I wasn't paying for it, and I bet I could probably find a teacher here that has a Weebly site. Let's see if I can find one. Here we go. So this is Mr. Allred's site, math. It's, his subdomain .weebly.com. So he's not paying the more, which why would he? To get a full domain. So he's being hosted on Weebly.com. This is like my webdev.ednerd.com. It's the same kind of thing. It's just kind of piggybacking on Weebly's site, and so it's a lot cheaper that way, and that's totally fine. It's just harder to find that website because it's not going to show up on search results. It's not going to show up on, it's not as easy to type into a URL. It's not as attractive. So that's why, there aren't many legitimate, big websites that are doing that kind of stuff. They all have whatever. But that's talking about domains. You have hosting, where you're literally saving files on a server somewhere, and then you have domain hosting or domain purchasing. You're buying the name of the website. GoDaddy is a great website to buy domains from too, but you can actually search domains and see which ones are available. So if I search for ednerd.org, it will let me know that it's taken, and they'll actually say, if you want .net, that's $15 for the first year. It is an annual thing. That's kind of expensive. Mine, they're usually pretty cheap unless it's a popular thing. And you can just kind of search here and see what your choices are. Sometimes people just buy domains that they think are going to be popular at some point, and then a company will contact the holder and they'll sell it. There's been a couple times, like funny articles, where either a big company forgot to renew their domain and it got picked up and they had to pay the guy thousands of dollars to get their site back. Doesn't happen too much anymore because there's a lot of safeties that you can put in. But some people just buy domain names and hope that that's going to catch on and someone's going to want to buy the website. So kind of a weird market. So I'm gonna have two other videos, one that goes through this infinityfree.net web hosting, because there's gonna be a lot of steps here. And then I'm also gonna have another video here about REPL. I do want you both, I want you to try both of them. I'm not gonna make you use both. I would assume that you'll probably like REPL more, and it's a little easier and more friendly to just use this. But this one is a little bit more of like a legitimate hosting site, and you can see the management tree and all that. I am also going to guess that this one may send you some emails every now and then because you got to log into stuff and everything. So I do apologize if you start getting spam from either of these places. I'd recommend, if you haven't done it yet, to make, I don't know if I can really recommend this, but I have a spam account that I would use for this kind of stuff. Your student email, if you never check it, that's probably fine, but it just gets bogged up so much. Go make a spam account. I don't recommend that you actually put the word spam in it, because when you give the spam email to the target employee when they want your email, it's a little bit awkward because they clearly know that it's a spam account. But go make a throwaway account and use it for stuff like this. So when they send you a bunch of spam and garbage, it's not clogging up your regular email. That's my tip of the day. But go check the other videos out. I just want a little write-up on this assignment that just tells me, how you liked it, if you prefer one over the other. I'll have you host something on both. It could be a super simple page. I just want to be able to access it, and we'll give you credit for it. And in the future, I'll have you host your bigger projects on one of these platforms. I'll let you choose. And if you find something else that you like, feel free to do that as well. There's another popular one called Heroku that some people that you might know, and it's a good one for Node.js. I used it for Node, another free version. Some of them have some unique abilities. I think with Heroku, I used it with Discord to do a bot, if I remember right. I did the same thing for Amazon. They all have their little niches, and there's tutorials all over the place that show you how to do some cool stuff with sites like this. So check those videos out, and we'll go through the rest of this.